Hi, this is John Patrick Hickey. I want to welcome you back to the video cast. There is somebody who is really invested in you. I mean, they are involved in your life all the time. Here's the problem. We tend to ignore them altogether. Of course, I'm talking about God. Now, you may not be a person of faith. I am. But it doesn't matter. One of the things about when you start to understand God's involvement in the human race is that whether you believe in Him or you don't, doesn't change the fact that He's there. It doesn't change the fact that He is somebody who is constantly involved. It always is amazing to me that there have been many, many people, I mean brilliant people, who have set forth massive efforts to disprove the existence of God. They have always ended up becoming believers. But how many times have you heard about somebody who went to prove the existence of God and became an atheist? Doesn't happen that way. Because there's just too much evidence. There's too much there for us to turn our backs at. I mean, you have to deliberately decide that I'm going to deny the reality, the facts, in order not to believe. But I'm not here to make an entire theological study. I'm here because and want to talk about this because it is important that we understand that even though we may not acknowledge Him, and even those of us who believe in God, when you think of all the time we spend never thinking about Him or doing things that we know are contrary to what He wants, and we say that we believe, but we don't necessarily live in the reality that He's there, and yet God is constantly involved in our life. You just cannot escape the fact that whatever you do, wherever you go, you see His hand there. Now, I know people are going to come up with the argument, well, then why is there suffering? Well, there's suffering because we are sinful beings, because we ignore God, we ignore His word. His word clearly tells us that we have a choice, and the choice is ours. You can follow Him, you can follow His commands, you can live by the standards that He has given us, which, by the way, are not burdensome or cumbersome or restrictive. Actually, living for God is a very freeing and a very liberating life. But we can follow that path and enjoy the blessings, or we can ignore it, do exactly what we want, when we want to do it, how we want to do it, and deal with the consequences. You see, there's always consequence. No matter what you do in life, there is a consequence, good or bad. See, consequences are not things that make their own decision that they're going to be in a certain way. Consequences don't care what you do. They just happen. If you do the right thing, you get the right consequence. If you do the wrong thing, you do the wrong consequence. That easy. Life's not complicated. So if we decide that we want to ignore all of the things that God has given to us, then of course we're going to see suffering. We're going to see pain. We're going to see all the negative things that we see in the world around us. And the other argument is, well, if God loves me, then why doesn't He just bless everything that I do? Well, He does bless everything that we do, but that doesn't mean that we get everything that we want. Why? Because not everything you want is good for you. If you're a parent, you don't give your children everything they want. For one, it's not good for them. They're going to hurt themselves. There are a lot of things that you want to protect them from, and their innocence and naivety is going to be something that is going to get them into trouble if you just give them what you want. Also, we all have experienced those kids who do get everything that they want. You can't live with them. They're impossible. They turn out to be brats and, cause all kinds of trouble, and their life ends up miserable. You know, one of the things that we forget is that when we look at those who are unhappy, those who are filled with misery, who end up with negative consequences in their life, we forget that they have caused this. They have not followed the right path. They have decided not to take responsibility for themselves and end up in this mess. Those who do want to follow what is right, to do good, to do right, to be a person of integrity and of good character, which is the things that God is calling us to, then they can experience the joy and the happiness, the fulfillment that life can bring. The choice is ours, always. But the thing is that whatever choice you make does not change the fact that God is involved in your life. He loves you, He cares about you, and He is there in order to bring you into His relationship. That is His goal. His goal is for you to come into a relationship with Him. Whether or not you do is not His decision, that's your decision. And He doesn't take that away from you. But if you do choose it, and if you do decide, just always remember that He is involved in us. Maybe it's time that we started getting more involved in Him. I also want to thank you for spending this time with me. I hope that it has been a help and an encouragement to you. I know when you start talking about religious things and people, turn off, but they're important. This is important. What else is important is that you always do your best. Love God, have good manners, discover the unknown, and change your world. Hi, this is John Patrick Hickey again. I want to thank you for spending time watching the video cast. I do hope that these add value to you, that they encourage you, that they give you principles and information that you can use in your everyday life. That's our purpose for being here. The Growth Center was designed and created in order to help you to become the very best that you were created to be, to fulfill all of those dreams and desires that you've had, to accomplish your goals and your dreams. Now, I also want to encourage you to get other material besides this video cast, which, by the way, if right below here, you're going to see a little button that's called subscribe. I do hope that you subscribe to this video cast so that regularly when we put these up, you'll be notified and you can watch them. But I also want you to go over to the website, which is at www.johnpatrickhickey.com. There you're going to find books and other materials to help you to grow and to continue to pursue those goals. Again, that's www.johnpatrickhickey.com. And thank you again for joining us.